ADR. Promoting dialogue. It's May Day in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Porto Novo. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio Broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Government of Togo expresses desire to join Sahel alliance states to strengthen economic and secure cooperation. Troops in Nigeria's Plateau State neutralize activities of some kidnappers in a major move. Liberia's President Boakai calls for collective efforts to confront growing incidents of mob violence.
For example, I think 3 times now they have burned down cities. We have fun, set it ablaze because of disgruntlement.
And President Mahama of Ghana sacks the nation's Inspector General of Police and names a new chief.
My vision for reform is clear, anchored on performance, accountability, and national interest. Under my leadership, specified entities will be transformed into engines of growth.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and welcome to our listeners within the sub-region and beyond. We begin in Togo, where the nation's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Professor Robert Dosey, has reiterated the country's desire to join the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. Togo's decision to join the AES is rooted in a desire to boost regional cooperation, assert sovereignty, and provide vital economic opportunities. In a Facebook post detailing the rationale behind this approach, Minister Dosey emphasized that Togo's accession to the AES is a well-considered decision aimed at ensuring the collective development and security of the region. Christopher Aticho has more in this report.
In a significant shift in West African geopolitics, Togo has reiterated its intention to join the Alliance of Sahel State AES, a regional bloc currently composed of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. The announcement made by Togo's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Professor Robert Dosey, in a Facebook post indicates an evolving relationship between ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, and the Sahel countries. This move signals not only a change in Togo's regional alignment, but also underlines Lomé's desire to assert more control over its economic and security features. Key motivation revolves around access to the sea. While the Sahelian countries of Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso are landlocked, Togo's deep water port of Lomé provides a critical maritime gateway that could benefit its neighbors. According to the minister, the second motivating factor is political unity. He believes that by joining AES, Togo hopes to consolidate a united front with its Sahelian partners, particularly in addressing the region's present security and economic challenges. This alignment stands in contrast to the political divide between ECOWAS and the Sahel states in recent years, as the latter increasingly seeks to distance itself from what they perceive as external control or influence from the West. Finally, Minister Dosey underscored Togo's desire to move beyond colonial legacies and prioritize African-led solutions. This aligns with the broader goal of asserting African sovereignty, allowing Togo to reduce dependency on foreign powers and bolster internal capacity.
Christopher Aticho with that report. Nigerian troops have neutralized 2 suspected kidnappers in Plateau State, marking another operation against armed criminality in the country's troubled northern region. According to military sources, soldiers of the Division 3 on an Operation Safe Haven launched a raid in Kuru and Turu communities of Jos South local government area as part of efforts to combat violent crime on an Operation Lafian Jamaz. Usma Umar Nabuja reports.
The operation reportedly targeted criminal hideouts in response to intelligence reports linking the suspects to recent abductions. In the ensuing firefight, troops captured 2 individuals identified as Aminu Shuaibu and Yusuf A. Subsequent search revealed ammunition including 18 rounds of 7.62 mm and 9 rounds of 5.56 mm cartridges. Military officials say the suspect confessed to participating in the March 9 kidnapping of a woman in Rantia, Jos South local government area. They also admitted to possessing weapons at a hideout and offered to lead troops to recover them. However, while en route, the suspects allegedly attempted to disarm a soldier and were shot dead. In addition to the arrest, the troops recovered several cows suspected to have been rustled, which have been secured pending identification of their rightful owners. The operation comes amid intensified recent military campaigns in the northwest and northeastern regions, leading to the killing of high-profile bandits and terrorist leaders. But despite ongoing military efforts, many rural areas remain vulnerable, with residents calling for stronger security measures to curb the violence. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Jos, north-central Nigeria.
In Guinea, agents deployed in the field for the RAVEC campaign, the administrative censors for civil status purposes, have expressed worry about the limited resources allocated to them. They say they have been off work for over a month now. This census, launched last November by the transitional government, is an essential step in the process of returning to the constitutional order. The objective is to update the electoral register. The transitional President General Mamadi Doumbouya has pledged to set a date for the constitutional referendum by the end of this month. Prime Minister Amadou Ba maintains that the presidential election will be held this year. Still on security matters, but this time in Liberia, President Joseph Boakai has emphasized the urgent need for collective efforts to confront the alarming rise of mob violence. During the second cabinet meeting held at the executive mansion in Monrovia, he said that such violence does not only threaten lives and properties, but also deter potential investors from the nation. Here is President Boakai's speech.
We have a lot of things happening to this country. All of us have to deal with. One of them is this issue of mob violence. Another one is this issue of anybody get dissatisfied, can set something on fire and place it down. Even investments that we try to encourage, the people are going to set them. For example, I think 3 times now they have burned down cities. We have a fund, set it ablaze because of disgruntlement. And these are issues that we should be able to address. I've been talking with the Minister of Justice to see what our laws and the recklessness where people just get angry and set fire on properties, and even happening at the highest level of the cabinet building, something that nobody here would have ever thought about. And we need to look at those seriously. We need to come up with decisions. Because even the good folks are really be angry and saying that when you set the police station ablaze, who's going to pay for it? How soon we're going to do that? We already have urgent issues to deal with. I think there should be a public cry on these kind of issues. We should look at them seriously. I don't think anybody here intend to hide anybody intentionally. But nobody has a right to just ask them if something that they're not going to tolerate in this country. For the minister, we have to put it on record.
Liberia's President Joseph Boakai.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's continue in Liberia, but this time on some trade issues, as the country and Japan have signed an agreement to enhance the freeway corridor that connects the free port of Monrovia to the Gibraltar Bridge. This agreement marks a significant step in strengthening ties between the two nations, symbolizing a commitment to deepen diplomatic, economic, and cultural relations. From Monrovia, Abraham Parker reports.
The agreement will facilitate the rehabilitation of a 1.9 kilometer stretch of the Japan Freeway, which is expected to significantly improve connectivity for commuters. During the signing ceremony, Liberia's Deputy Foreign Minister for International Cooperation and Economic Integration, Dr. Abraham Yen, highlighted the importance of this development, describing it as a pivotal moment for both countries. He expressed his hopes for continuing to momentum in bilateral cooperation, emphasizing the need for a strategic partnership that addresses global challenges.
This event today is a manifestation that Liberia-Japan relation continues to grow from strength to strength. We hope to keep this momentum as we build solid bridges in our bilateral cooperation as well as our strategic partnership on global issues. Your support and partnership have helped educate and train civil servants and ordinary Liberians in private businesses, promote trade and investment, and have contributed to the overall growth of our economy and the peace and stability of our country.
Japanese ambassador to Liberia, Yashimoto Hiroshi, took the opportunity to reflect on the proud legacy of the Japan Freeway and reiterated Japan's dedication to supporting the initiatives that foster economic growth and improve their livelihoods.
The extension of the Japan Freeway aligned with Japan's broader infrastructure agenda, as Japan has consistently demonstrated its commitment to Africa's development by prioritizing infrastructure that directly benefits local communities. This new extension project will rehabilitate our
This agreement between Japan and Liberia serves as a testament to the deepened relationship between the two countries. For Newslink on WADR, I'm Abraham Parker in Monrovia.
Let's cross over to Ghana now, as chief executive officers of all state-owned enterprises have been given a new charge by the country's president, that is to reform, merge, privatize or shut down. This new direction outlined to the specific SOEs was made at an engagement organized by the State Interest and Governance Authority with President Mahama on Thursday. The president's comment follows the revelation by Minister of Finance Dr. Fosun that many SOEs are struggling financially and have failed to achieve profitability. From Accra, Atisu reports.
In all, over 100 chief executives of state-owned enterprises met with President John Mahama as he gave them the new charge, determined to crack the whip and root out all forms of corrupt practices in his administration while ensuring that he makes the economy as robust as possible. The president reminded the CEOs of what their mandates are.
My vision for reform is clear, anchored on performance, accountability, and national interest. Under my leadership, specified entities will be transformed into engines of growth, aligning with our goal of a 24-hour economy that expands job opportunities and drives industrialization.
The president then reminded them of the need to work towards urgent financial discipline and improve operational performances. He also declared that the era of mediocrity and financial mismanagement in state-owned enterprises must come to an end, consequently cautioning that loss-making SOEs will no longer be tolerated. For such entities, Mahama says they will either be merged, privatized, or closed down altogether.
Loss-making SOEs will no longer be tolerated. They will be swiftly reformed, they will be merged, privatized, or shut down. Corruption, procurement fraud, and financial mismanagement will be prosecuted strictly, and boards that rubber stamp poor decisions will be replaced. The practice also of, in a few cases, using entity resources and funds to indemnify board members from accountability must cease immediately.
The directive by the president marks a significant policy shift from previous government approaches, moving away from continuous bailouts and subsidies for struggling state enterprises. In Ghana, state-owned enterprises play a crucial role, spanning key sectors such as energy, transport, agriculture, banking, and manufacturing.
Atisu with that report. Meanwhile, you are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Government of Togo expresses desire to join Sahel Alliance states to strengthen economic and secure cooperation. Troops in Nigeria's Plateau State neutralize activities of some kidnappers in a major move. Liberia's President Bouakai calls for collective efforts to confront growing incidents of mob violence. Still ahead in the news, political parties in Mali call for a repeal of new taxes. We also have guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. Just before we leave Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama has relieved the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Damperi, of his post. As his replacement, the president has named COP Christian Tete Yohuno as the acting Inspector General of Police. This was conveyed in a statement on Thursday evening and signed by the Minister of Government Communication, Felix Ofosu, and in accordance with Article 91 and 202 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, also in consultation with the Council of State. Now, as part of efforts to ensuring a peaceful, free, credible and transparent elections in Côte d'Ivoire, the European Union has supported the country with 7 million euros, or approximately 4.6 billion CFA francs, for a peaceful electoral process come October 2025. This was announced on Thursday by the European Union Ambassador to Côte d'Ivoire, Francisca Di Muro, during the launch ceremony of the election package called All Committed Election It's Not Bang Bang. The program mobilizes around 30 national and international organizations, partners of the European Union, for the deployment of projects over the next 30 months. More details of Albin Adet's report, voiced by Abdullahi Hassan.
The all-committed election, it's not Bang Bang program, an Ivorian slang term meaning the election should not be a conflict, funded by the European Union, aims to promote a violence-free election in Côte d'Ivoire. To this end, the EU will, through around 10 projects, promote civic education and support local initiatives in favor of transparent and inclusive elections. The European institution intends to rely on the involvement of young people to achieve its objectives. According to the EU ambassador to Côte d'Ivoire, Francisca Di Muro, it is essential to involve young people who represent a large part of the voting population in order to build a sustainable democracy. The all-committed election, it's not Bang Bang program includes raising public awareness, providing support to community media, and early warning mechanisms to prevent potential tensions. It will also involve creating frameworks for collaboration in sensitive areas and protecting human rights defenders. The European Union initiative also plans to deploy 700 observers from civil society to monitor the presidential elections of October 25, 2025 and the parliamentary elections of 2026. It also provides support for electoral institutions. For the EU ambassador to Côte d'Ivoire, it is necessary to strengthen the population's confidence in the electoral process.
Abdullahi Hassan with the details of Albin Adet's report from Abidjan. In Mali, political parties are calling for a repeal of the new taxes on telephone services that came into effect on March 5 this year. In a joint statement, the Malian political parties, Yelima and the M5 RFP Malikura, called for the complete repeal of these taxes. For each phone top-up, the state now levies 10% of the price, and for each mobile money transfer, there is a 1% tax. The president of a third party, CODEM, also denounces this new tax and issues a court much broader call for a revival against the dictatorship and of court. The authorities explain that these taxes are intended to feed into a special fund for finance social projects in the country. Chad has joined countries around the world that have welcomed Starlink into telecommunications markets. The arrival of Starlink in the country has been regarded as major turning point for internet users who have long been calling for an opening up to competition between operators in the country. Imo Edit has the details.
This historic agreement between the government of Chad and the satellite arm of SpaceX is now official after nearly a year of negotiations. The government has signed for the introduction of the American telecommunications operator to work in the country, granting it an operating license. This move makes Starlink the first satellite operator officially authorized to operate in Chad and is a strategic step for a country where internet access remains expensive and inefficient, hampering its economic and social development. This progress represents a real leap forward for digital inclusion, supported by the Minister of Telecommunications, Dr. Buka Michel, after many months of discussions. This signing also clears up the confusion surrounding Elon Musk's announcement last November. Thanks to this satellite technology, a fast, stable, and accessible connection will now be possible even in areas far from major cities. Meanwhile, some local operators are raising concerns over the entry of the American giant with fears of fierce competition and chances of losing ground to a player with an extensive network and impressive technological power.
Imo Edit reporting there.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, our guest interview takes us to Togo, where the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Professor Robert Dorsey, has reiterated the country's desire to join the Alliance of Sahel States. Togo's decision to join the AES is rooted in a desire to bolster regional cooperation, assert sovereignty, and provide vital economic opportunities. Our guest is Michael Nketia, an international relations expert.
In as much as the decision of Togo to join the Alliance of Sahelian States may sound quite unfortunate to the ECOWAS bloc and the sub-region in general, we must also put on record that the foremost decision or primary decision in international relations is about survival. Without the survival of the state, there will be no statehood, there will be no sovereignty. So perhaps Togo is prioritizing its survival as a state over the collective decision and well-being of ECOWAS. We know that collectively it would have been better for Togo to be part of ECOWAS, which is now a 12-member states bloc, than joining the Alliance of Sahel States, which is just made up of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. However, if you are to do a detailed and critical assessment of the situation, should Togo decide to eventually join the alliance, it becomes the only country of the four-member alliance, that is if it is accepted.
How would these three blocks, the AES member countries, be seen on the faces of democratic watchers who believe that you people exited ECOWAS because you believe that ECOWAS is not upholding to the tenets of democracy and is being biased to some member countries? And Togo in this instance is one country that is not adhering to the tenets of democracy. Yet if the AES should open its doors to Togo, how would the AES member state itself be seen in the faces of democratic watchers?
We know that there's been military interventions in these countries. It started in Burkina Faso with the overthrow of Blaise Compaoré. Then it started in Mali. It got to Burkina Faso. And in Mali, we've had about 3 successive military interventions. In Burkina Faso, about 2 successive military interventions in the last 4 years. So if these countries were pushed out of ECOWAS because they were not being democratic, and there was that ultimatum for them to return their countries to civilian rule or be pushed out of ECOWAS, then it serves as a very good reason for Togo to also leave ECOWAS, because I know, it is generally accepted that Togo is basically not practicing a democracy. So why wait to be pushed out when you can live on your own? I believe this is the strategy of Togolese President Faure Gnassingbé. Why should I wait to be pushed out when I can live on my own with much more dignity?
What then becomes the fate of ECOWAS members? Does this serve as a form for retrospection to analyze themselves and see what exactly they are getting wrong, which is obviously making their members exit?
Okay, it is time for ECOWAS to reinvent itself. ECOWAS should not only be known by books or theoretically. It is time for the world to know ECOWAS as a very practicable supranational entity that is committed to fulfilling its own objectives and mandates. If ECOWAS can activate its military wing, ECOMOG, to go to the defense of member states when they are being overrun by terrorist groups or terror networks, if ECOWAS can guarantee the political sovereignty and stability of member states, that when there is an emergence of a coup d'etat, ECOWAS could easily send in their standby force to quell any form of rebellion or coup d'etat. Then member states will feel committed to the tenets of ECOWAS, and they will feel protected, belonging, and then they would also feel that at any point in time, ECOWAS can easily come to their aid.
Michael Nketia is an international relations expert. Here comes Sankule Janko with details in the world of sports.
Hello out there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The Black Stars head coach Otto Addo has named a 23-man squad for the upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Chad and Madagascar. The team led by Captain Jordan Ayew includes 3 home-based players: Benjamin Asayo of Accra Oaks of Oak, Kamaradine Mahmoudou of Madiana SC, and Razak Simpson of Nations FC. Deputy captain and Arsenal midfielder Thomas Partey returns to the squad after missing 4 of the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers last year. The team will assemble on Monday, March 17, 2025 and train for 4 days before hosting Chad at the Accra Sports Stadium on Friday, March 21, 2025. Black Stars will then travel to Morocco to face Madagascar in another Group I match on Monday, March 24, 2025, according to Ghana Football Association official website. Ghana are currently second in Group I with 9 points from 4 matches after securing 3 wins and 1 defeat, leaving them with Comoros. And Guinea-Bissau named 4 new players in their squad for this month's FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Sierra Leone and Burkina Faso, as coach Luis Boamote selected 25 players for the Group A clashes. That is the first call-up for 25-year-old left-back Babacar Fati, who was previously on the books of Portuguese champions Sporting Lisbon, as well as 21-year-old Mario Junior, a centre-back from Oliviense in Portugal's second division. Midfielder Vendo Felix, 22, has made his debut in the Portuguese top flight with Victoria Guimarães this season and comes into the national squad along with 24-year-old striker Tambul Monteiro from Prominence in Portugal. Guinea-Bissau will face Sierra Leone on March 28th at Samuel Kayondo Stadium in Monrovia, Liberia, and then return home to host Burkina Faso on March 24, 2025. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Umun Danyago for the technical support. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. At 1 o'clock, the news in French, which is M4 Chevu, will come your way with Demba Amaan. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0.